struggled with addiction my whole life. Started drinking at 14, experimented with cocaine at 15, checked myself into treatment at 21. And I can remember a guy coming in and talking and saying, one of you will be sober in a year. There was 38 of us. I said, what are you talking about? He said, one of you will be sober. I said, what do I do? He said, don't drink and go to those 12-step meetings. So I did, but I never grasped recovery, and I bounced in and out, cocaine, alcohol, other drugs. I'd been sober a year, but not working a recovery program, and I took a guy to Chicago to move out of his apartment. His roommate was doing heroin. He offered me one bag. I didn't have the coping skills or knowledge to say no. I thought, oh, I could do one bag. That's all it took. That one bag took me down a 12-year road to absolute hell. Number of county jails, Illinois Department of Corrections twice. Probably spent upwards of $1.5 million on my heroin habit in 12 years. Robbed quality time from my wife, my 4 kids, and ultimately took my 20-year-old son's life. December 16th of 2010, I had overdosed while driving, hit 2 cars, put 4 people in the hospital. I knew I was going to prison. When you don't have opiates, you're profusely sick. I was sick one day in the bathtub. My 17-year-old son, Nick, walked in. He said, what's wrong, Pops? I looked at him. I said, what do you think, you idiot? I'm dope sick. And he said, not anymore. And my son left 2 bags of heroin on the counter. So I got out, I did them, I went in his room, and I said, Nick, what are you doing? He said, don't worry, Dad, I'm just selling a little bit. I said, Nick, you know what this drug has done to me. My son looked at me and said, well, Dad, you're a successful drug addict. I said, why would you say that? He said, you got a nice house, you got an office in the Wrigley building, you make money. 3 months later, my son and I were doing heroin together. We became partners in crime, chaos agents. That's how Nick and I bonded. Ultimately was sent to prison. He was in treatment again while I was in prison. I came out 13 and a half months later. He ended up in treatment again. I went and met with him. I was 18 months sober. We talked about all these wonderful things we were going to do. 30 days later, he's back in jail. I talked to him 5 days out and offered him some Narcan, which reverses the effects of an opioid. Don't worry, Dad, I'm not on that. 2 days later, he was dead. You know, and he had snorted 2 bags of heroin and ate a bar of Xanax. People have this misconception, well, I'm just snorting a little bit, it's not going to kill me. Most of the people are dying from snorting the heroin today because it's so pure. And if you mix it with alcohol or benzos, it's going to shut down your respiratory system and you're going to die. So, you know, I try to live God's will and Nick's will to the best of my ability today. Since my son passed on a little over 16 months ago, I've helped 35 of his friends or acquaintances get into treatment, and it just pushes me to dig deeper every day to help more people. This is my life's calling now. My motto is I'm taking people from dope to hope, helping one addict at a time.